Hi, I'm Robert Best, director for Barbie Collector, and I'm thrilled today to be here with Bob Mackie.
Hi.
Hi. So we're very excited to have an opportunity to talk about your experiences with Barbie and ask you some other fun questions.
Yeah, I've never talked about Barbie and my experiences.
What was your introduction to Barbie?
Well, actually, I was in college when Barbie came out, so I wasn't the slightest bit interested in Barbie at the time. But later on, I realized what a huge star she became.
And what was the first Barbie that you ever worked on?
First Barbie, I think, was in the early 90s, maybe 90, I'm not sure. And it was the long blonde ponytail and the gold sequin dress, and she had a feather boa. It was like Cher, and it was blonde.
Of course.
But of course, later on, we did Cher dolls.
Yes,
and,
of course.
And they were really fun.
So you've created amazing clothes for very well-known celebrities and, shows and all sorts of incredible fashions. What are like the big differences between doing that and designing for Barbie?
There's not a whole lot of difference. There really isn't. The only thing is Barbie is easier in the fittings, except she's so damn small.
She's so tiny.
Yeah.
But I think what's great is you also bring what you're known for to Barbie. Like, I think your dolls definitely have a sort of very specific look and feel to them.
When I first met Barbie, she was an airline stewardess, and she was a secretary, and she was a surfer girl, and she had all these things that were sort of normal. And I wanted to bring some of what I was sort of known for,
right?
Fantasy, glamour, all that sort of thing that you wouldn't see every day.
Not typical.
Now, actually, the line at Mattel has a lot of that sort of thing going as well.
So you could say you've had an influence, which is great.
Well, you could.
Do you have any particular dolls that you love that you think of as like particularly great or that memorable?
Well, I've done quite a few by this time.
Yeah.
I mean, not nearly as many as you, I'm sure, but
you've done your
but
fair
I've done
share,
quite a few. Yeah. Actually, this one happens to be in front of us is one of my favorites because up until this time I hadn't done any dolls that were, they just all had pink cheeks and blonde or red hair or whatever, and I just wanted to do these international fantasy goddesses. So I could take all the elements from where they came from. This was the African goddess, and I just was inspired by African designs, African clothes, but I didn't have to do an exact copy. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do sort of like, Africa Goes to Las Vegas.
So let's talk about the doll that we are currently working on with you.
Yes.
And that would be the fairy. What was the inspiration or the thought behind that?
Well, I thought, wouldn't it be fun to do a fairy? Because that's such a fantasy-filled kind of childhood thing, except our fairy's kind of saucy and she has high heels and
very glamorous,
and glamorous, but she has a sense of humor, I think.
Yes.
She was sort of a garden fairy because she looks like sort of a lily in a way. Her wings look like lily wings.
Recently we did a doll with you called Brazilian Bonanza, which is kind of a tongue twister of a name.
I know. I made that name up and I didn't think it would ever get to the market, but it did.
So what sort of inspired you with Brazilian Bonanza?
I've always been entranced by Brazil since I was a little boy. Carmen Miranda was my favorite movie star, along with Betty Grable. Now that shows how old I am, because this was in the 1940s. We didn't want to do Carmen Miranda because then it would be a nostalgic doll. So this is kind of like today's answer to Carmen Miranda and the joy that you get when you're in Brazil and at carnival time and all the fun that everybody has.
I think it's great, and it's really unique, even I think amongst our collector line. It really stands out with all the different bananas and flowers, and collectors really love it. You talked about, of course, Cher, and no conversation with you can happen without talking about Cher, both in terms of, I think, dressing her in real life and then working on the Cher dolls, which are always a collector
that came,
favorite.
20 years later after I started Barbie that we actually did Cher dolls.
We did the real Cher dolls.
And it's always interesting because, she has to approve.
Right.
So we just go sort of forward. And at this point in time, she's worn everything in the world. That is strange and wondrous. She never wears normal clothes.
No.
She doesn't care for Barbie's normal wardrobe.
Right.
She wouldn't like anything you did.
Not remotely. Is there
But-
any one Cher doll that you particularly love, or any one Cher costume that she's worn in life that you love that stands out to you as like
Well,
a favorite?
one favorite was when she appeared in 1975 on the cover of Time magazine.
Oh, I love that.
And they did a
photo.
head to just below the knee shot of her in this sort of see-through nude, very, very sheer dress with beads and
That
feathers
was a
and stuff.
beautiful, beautiful dress.
And in those days, Time magazine seldom had, those ladies on the cover. It was usually a world leader. It really stood out on the newsstand, and it sold out like the day it came out.
That's
you couldn't get your
amazing.
hand on any
Yeah,
of them.
it's
they
a
were
very
gone.
famous photo and a beautiful gown.
It was a Richard Avedon photograph.
Gorgeous.
And it was quite fun.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us today. This has been a real
My pleasure.
pleasure
Thank
and
you.
a privilege, of course.
Now can I interview you?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Absolutely.